Uh, Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to be here today. আমি যেটা করব আলমাজ ভাই এবং মাস ভাই অনেক কনটেক্সচুয়ালাইজ করলেন টেকনোলজি এবং কি করতে পারে আমি যেটা করব I'll try to contextualize FMCG context how technology is being adopted. Now, if you look at FMCG is designed on a value chain model. আপনারা অনেকে হয়তো মাইকেল পোর্টার নাম শুনেছেন, and basically he defines how value chain works. Value chain means there's an inbound logistic, there's an outbound logistic. মাঝখানে we process our raw materials to make product. FMCG একইভাবে কাজ করে. We source some materials with the cheapest cost, we manufacture, and then we have a distributive trade যেটার মাধ্যমে আমরা distribute করি. But the reality হচ্ছে যে এখনকার পৃথিবী doesn't work in a very linear fashion. It's very non-linear. আপনারা সবাই নিশ্চয়ই সবসময় মোবাইল ফোনে আছেন, you're discussing. So when I was a marketeer, অনেক আগে যখন brand manager ছিলাম, it was very easy to attract your attention because there was only one screen. আজকে there are multiple screen, multiple decision making for me to do that. So ভবিষ্যৎ, এবং এটা কিন্তু true for not only consumer, কথা বলছি customer, even everyone in the ecosystem. So the future of FMCG transformation is all about ecosystem, platform, and data and analytics. And I'll give you examples of what I mean by that. So the value chain যেটা Michael Porter define করেছেন will actually now get translated into what I call ecosystem. And the ecosystem is a consumer ecosystem, customer ecosystem, operation ecosystem, and all three powered by data and analytics. And let me now break it down on the three ecosystems that I talk about and how technology transformed them. If you look at a consumer ecosystem, the whole idea on ecosystem is around people want to know more, try more, and buy more. That's the three fundamental building blocks for the consumer ecosystem. তার মানে হচ্ছে আমাকে এখন content দিতে হবে curated for the right kind of audience. So as Unilever, what we are creating are content platforms. So there are content platforms called Be Beautiful, যেটা আমাকে beauty hygiene education দেয়. There is a content platform Clinipedia, যেটা আমাকে clinic করে. There's a content platform around nutrition across called NutriTalk. All of these content platform curates content for people based on your need. এই যে ডেটা সিগন্যাল বললেন, you'll be surprised, আপনারা যখন ফোনে আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটে যান, I collect data and you have given rights of data. So I can curate content based on your psyche and your need. এবং ওই কন্টেন্টের বেসিসে আমি, so no more, if you remember I broke it down, try more, যেখানে I now have a system যেখানে I can curate sampling based on your preference. আমরা যখন মার্কেটে যখন ছিলাম as a brand manager, আমি ঘরে ঘরে যেতাম, একই প্রোডাক্ট নিয়ে বলতাম এইটা ট্রাই করেছেন কি করেননি. We have gone to millions and millions in houses 24 years back, creating categories after category. আজকে কি হচ্ছে, মাসুদ ভাইয়ের preference will be very different, VC sir preference will be very different than my preference. We'll create and curate sampling content for that specific customer. So we've got something called Smart Pick that actually ensures that. এবং এরপরে you bring this together, your content platform, your trial platform, to your marketplaces. So there are lots of marketplaces. We also have our own marketplaces to make sure that we are able to convert that in commerce. So if I just explain to you how the consumer ecosystem in today works, এবং আজকে আমি যেটা explain করলাম is exactly how it works today. আমি কিন্তু এই পুরো কনভারসেশনে বলিনি টিভিতে কিছু অ্যাডভার্টাইজমেন্ট দিব, social media, digital advertisement দিব. I'm talking about a completely different engagement system. When you come into customer ecosystem, I talked about it. Customer ecosystem, there are three verticals. একটা হচ্ছে demand generation, demand capture, and demand fulfillment. Now, demand generation, demand capture, and demand fulfillment মধ্যে, these are all interconnected verticals. আমরা প্রতিদিন 5 লাখ দোকানে যাই, more than 500,000 outlets. সারা বাংলাদেশে 1.7 million outlets আছে, roughly 1.2 million is FMCG করে. On 500,000 is roughly where most of the value lies. Rest are tail outlets. I actually know each of those outlets by nature. এবং ওটা data basis I can curate what is the assortment that you need to carry for each of those outlets. কারণ এই ইউনিভার্সিটির পাশে যে আউটলেটটা আছে will be very different the outlet আমার বাড়ির পাশে যেটা আছে. Do you guys agree? More or less? Because the demand will be very different. But I can then curate that এবং ওটার ব্যবস্থা করতে পারি. And so and a back end, how does this work? I talked about big numbers, na? 1.2 million, 1.7, 500,000. Remember all these machine learnings and AI kotha bolchilen, data kotha bolchilen? That's how I get data. So I get data every day across my 237 SKUs, 500,000 outlets, and based on then পরের দিন আমার salesman knows যে এই দোকানে আমাকে কি বিক্রি করতে হবে. So this is today. I'm not talking about imagination. This is what I do today as a daily business in terms of curating and running that. Finally, আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে demand fulfillment. Demand fulfillment মানে হচ্ছে আমার customer order capture করে আমাকে তো delivery করতে হয়. So what I now have is আমার প্রত্যেকটা outlet, those 500,000 I talked about, are GPS tagged. I actually know location করে outlet. আমার যে vehicles গুলো আছে, vehicles গুলো are also tagged. So you can actually optimize delivery, making sure that the least cost route I can service them outlets. Again, data comes, machines comes at the back end and drives this. Finally, I talked about operations ecosystem, and the operations ecosystem is all about sourcing raw material. So I have real-time data where I've got what I call a sourcing watchtower globally to figure out raw material. And based on that, I actually decide কোন raw material কতদিনের cover নিব না নিব, because I need to make sure I have optimized cost. I plan, all are run by machines, by the way. And at the end of the day, manufacture and deliver the same thing. Almaz bhai and Masu bhai talked about cobots. In my factory in Kalurghat, I have cobots. So cobots are collaborative robots, which means human and machine works together. And that actually make sure that you're optimizing. It is literally, I have conveyor belts where machine decides কোন conveyor belt এ কোন productটা যাবে. Based on that, depending on end of line fill rate কেমন আছে, এবং end of line fill rate কিন্তু আরেকটা machine করছে. And this improves productivity dramatically on this machine, of this factory. The factory that I have in Kalurghat today is the second largest factory in South Asia. Second largest. Our পাশে একটা country আছে যেটা turnover is 10 times more than our company turnover. Remember, India. Despite that, I've got the second largest factory in Bangladesh, powered by machines. And finally, we talked about data and analytics. There's a huge data backbone that powers all of this. I spoke about how we are using data to go to these outlets or shopper. আপনারা যখন বাজারে যান, বাজারে একটা চিট শিট থাকে না, একটা ফর্দ লিখে থাকে না দোকানে, আপনারা বা আপনার মারা গেলে দেখবেন যে একটা ফর্দ লেখা থাকে, ওই ফর্দ I have now capability of reading those. And based on that, I actually know your purchase basket. And based on your purchase basket, I will actually upgrade you to get more value. I will incentivize you to get more value. So there is, আমি এখন, I've got image analytics capability, যেখানে I take snaps of the shop to figure out my share and what move and velocity of stocks and products that is happening across all. There is a back end in terms of my operation, যেখানে I see real time. আপনারা হয়তো ম্যাক্সিমাম স্টুডেন্ট মাসুদের কায়সার ভাইয়া বলতে পারবেন যে there is a huge inflation হচ্ছে মার্কেটে, huge amount of volatility আছে, huge liquidity হচ্ছে. আমাকে প্রতিদিনের বেসিসে ডিসিশন নিতে আমাকে আমার টিমকে, we actually now have a whole data backend যেটার বেসিসে we take everyday pricing decision নিই. This pricing decision used to be something we used to take, মাসুদ ভাই তো জানেন, once in a quarter, 6 months, because data আসতো না. Today I take pricing decisions every day because the price and cost changes like as volatile as that. So that's what I was just saying. This is just to use how technology, technology কথা ওনারা বলে এসেছেন, how it's being applied in business. Just for your reflection, how do you really now apply এই যে technology কথা বলছি? I'll talk about fundamentally when you're trying to transform your business, you must ask one question to yourself, and I call this the Innovation Triad. What business or consumer problem are you solving? You must understand that. A lot of time you will get excited with technology. It's a fantastic technology, but you don't know what problem you're trying to solve. Then you'll spend a lot of money, এবং কোনো outcome হবে না. So the first question to ask yourself is what business problem or consumer problem you're trying to solve. Second is, by acquiring that technology, what competitive advantage will you get? Because you must attain a competitive advantage. এই যে সমস্ত জিনিস আমি বললাম gives me huge competitive advantage over my market ওনাদের সাথে. Third যে জিনিসটা আছে, appropriating a large chunk of the value chain. As a businessman, we don't do a lot of this, যেগুলো আলমাজ ভাইয়া মাসুদ ভাই বলে এলেন, whether it is IoT, RPA or AI, just for the sake of doing it. I do it because I make more value for my business. So the third thing you need to look into is that how does this generate more value for your business? So these are the three principles always to keep in mind. Second একটা জিনিস হচ্ছে, এই কাজটা by the way magically হয় না. And I'm sure you guys are all aware of MVP, minimum viable product. You have to continuously work on it. You have to start with something. আমি আপনাদেরকে যে image analytics অথবা optical character recognition, it's taken us 2 years, and January 1 we are scaling it. But 2 বছর লেগেছে to get the error margins right. So always constantly work on experimenting with a minimum viable product. that will make sure it will happen. আর থার্ড যে জিনিসটা সেটা হচ্ছে আমাদের আপনাদের জন্য যে নেক্সট ইয়ার যেটা ইটস এ ভেরি ডিফারেন্ট ওয়ার্ল্ড। আমি বলবো যে উই গট ইট ইজি বিকজ আমাদের এত কিছু করতে হয়নি, কিন্তু আপনাদেরকে যেটা মনে রাখতে হবে, দের ইজ এ থিঙ্কিং কল সিস্টেমস থিঙ্কিং। I don't know how many of you are aware, but Google করলে you will get a lot of understanding that actually talks about that our thinking typically is very linear. But today's world, it is no more linear. It are interconnected. And you must create this ability to adopt a systems thinking that expands your horizon to understand the implication. খুব সহজ একটা এক্সাম্পল দিই সিস্টেম থিঙ্কিংয়ের। আমি তো সাবান বিক্রি করি, সাবান বিক্রি করে যে why am I in this university? There is no linear relationship, correct? But the interconnected relationship হচ্ছে যে আপনাদের মাঝখান থেকে যদি if there is one or two that gets inspired, it will create a huge positive ripple on the industry, not my business, but on the industry itself. So that's the reason for that. I would urge you, it's a wonderful concept where you actually have to look at the breadth of things to connect, analyze and synthesize, because the next generation capabilities are all this. And by the way, আলমাজ ভাই ভয় দেখিয়ে গিয়েছেন যে লোকজনের চাকরি চলে যাচ্ছে। Or the transformation I just talked about, I didn't lose a single piece of individual. You know what happened? Everybody got upskilled. So when I'm talking about all this AI algorithm, our organization, there was no data scientist earlier. I now have data scientists in my business. আমি চিন্তা করি না 10 বছর আগে 20 বছর আগে there would be a data scientist. I never knew somebody who would be an algorithm specialist are in the company, or an ethics specialist are in the company. So there are new jobs and roles that gets created. Or even আমার শপ ফ্লোরে আগে যে লোকটা প্যাক করতো কার্টুনে আজকে is operating a PLC of one of these machines. So you will have to, all of us will have to move to higher cognition to really deliver on that. So that's all from me. I hope it give you a practical perspective how FMCG te we're transforming and using technology to really reshape the future of what work will be. Thank you so much.